What's good, everybody? This is Nathan Lombardo with Lambo Media.
I'm Alec Willis, St. Louis Cardinals prospect, and you're catching up with Lambo Media. Don't feel like you're not a man if you don't reach out. It's not like it's better to get help than just stay quiet about it. I'm Alec Willis, St. Louis Cardinals prospect, and you're catching up with Lambo Media.
So we could just start off talking about a little bit about your surgery and how that was, because it's directly before your senior year of high school, and then immediately after that, you got drafted straight after high school. So talk to me a little bit about that surgery and how that was for you mentally.
Yeah, I don't know if the camera can see it, but
yeah, you're good.
Trying to see the scar right there, but no. So throughout high school, I just kind of couldn't really finish a season without pain. I just kind of like discomfort through here, and then finally I was like, I'm done resting and trying to figure it out. So I was like, I'll just get surgery. Like, it's trying to be proactive about it. Figured out that an extra muscle right here that was kind of like irritating the nerve. It's kind of like a nerve getting inflamed, hit that muscle. So we got that removed, and then we were going to do transposition, which was move the nerve from right here, move to the bicep, and then they went in there and said we don't need to do that.
How long before your surgery, and when you actually got surgery, was it hurting and egging you on to get surgery?
It was kind of just like freshman year, you kind of feel like, because before then I could throw every weekend, like in club ball when you grow up, and then you get older, start throwing a little bit harder. I think it was partly because I didn't really know how to do a throwing program. It's kind of just throwing whenever it felt good.
Right.
It just end of season stuff. Just like I prefer if I could go in the off season without having to take a rest.
I think that kind of shows the younger guys just how important arm care and what you're doing before throwing. I think that just shows how valuable and important that is as a young guy. Can you kind of attest on that?
Yeah, I mean, my freshman year, my biggest mistake was I didn't start lifting. I was just like, oh, I don't have time for it. That's like, I don't care about it. That was probably the dumbest idea. Because honestly, I believe once you hit high school, whoever you are, it's like you gotta start lifting because you're based on natural steroids with your body growing. And then, sophomore year I actually got into it. That was huge for me. And then throwing, it was still like I was going to places and they tell me what to do, but I was just like, I don't really know what I'm doing. So I didn't really. It wasn't their fault. It was my fault because I just was like going through the motions. I didn't really care about it. I just wanted to throw hard all the time, and I think that's bad throw camera. I think the biggest thing is just biggest thing in terms of like overall gains for health and just like velo jump, whatever you want to call it. It's just taking rest days and like timing your intent days based on those rest days, because it's kind of like lifting. You can't lift 7 days a week and expect to get a whole lot stronger. You got to have like maybe every other day, 3 times a week. Same thing with throwing. I think that was the biggest thing for my rehab throwing. I was basically going every other day, increasing the distance. Kind of got into longer distances. I'd go off day, light day, high day, light day, high day, off. Just doing that 5-day cycle for literally that's all the time. That's what really helped me the most.
And looking back at that surgery, because I think it's valuable that a lot of athletes go through those, mental humps and go through those struggles to actually face success and see success in their game in the future. So looking back at that surgery and looking back at that mental hump, do you think that was beneficial for you in the long run?
I think so. I mean, I thought the surgery, if you look at it, I gained velocity after the surgery, but I wouldn't say the surgery gave me velocity outright. It was just like a wake-up call for me. Basically being like, shoot, you got to start caring about your throwing. You got to map it out. I love to just put on a sheet of paper, write down everything I'm gonna do that week, because then I know. I know what I'm doing. I'm not every other day thinking maybe I'll just do this today. It feels good. I'll throw this today. And so that kind of keeps me on track, keep me focused, and then just and also just getting into mobility. I think that was a huge one for me. It's I'd lift 3 times a week before the surgery, and then just and then that was it. And then after the surgery, it was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday lift, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday I'll do a mobility day. And so I had the strength to throw however hard, but I just didn't have the movement patterns to do so. So I thought that was the biggest part, because I think in today's game you can see there's guys that aren't really that strong. There's some dudes that can lift to some weight, but there's really not. There are some guys that just are skinny, and it's because they move extremely well. They move crazy fast. That's kind of like with pitching. It's just you got to rotate really fast, you got to move really well, and just strength is kind of like ice on the cake sometimes for some guys.
Absolutely, and I mentioned the draft right after that surgery in senior year of high school, an incredible senior year of high school. Right after that was the MLB draft, and you decided to go straight to the MLB and straight to pro ball, and decided to skip college ball. Mm-hmm. What was the biggest reasoning behind making that decision, and what went behind that decision to skip college ball?
Well, to be honest, like the story of the draft day is, I was expecting second or third round, because that's kind of like where my money was. Like that's where the slot value where I wanted. Yep. And then it didn't come. I like literally told people in my house. I invited a bunch of my friends over. My brother came down, and I was like, "You guys can go home. Thanks for coming." And they're like, "Oh, like I'm sorry it didn't happen." And they stayed for a little bit. Got another call. And it was like wasn't quite there yet. So I'm like, "Damn, all right, you guys can seriously go home. Like it's over." And then like 2 minutes later, obviously got another call. And so just kind of looking at it, obviously, draft day is a number game. It's a money thing. It sucks because you don't want to make decisions based on money. Yeah. That's the worst thing. But money is also the investment in you. The higher the money, the more they're invested in you. Right. I think there's a lot of people that can sign for low amounts of money out of high school, but you got to look at your future beyond that. You got to think, okay, if they invest under 100K in me, that's fairly low for a high school guy. That's like, are they just going to be able to just dish me out after 2 years if I don't do very well? And so that money number was just kind of like the biggest thing is you do get a little bit more opportunity the higher money you get, because that's the investment. Yeah. So I just want to make sure it was worth it not to go to college and basically forego my college career and just start early.
Absolutely. And, I looked at your GPA. It was pretty high in high school. Do you look back and in the future, are you looking to possibly go and get your degree out of college?
Yeah, I think that's one thing I want to definitely end up doing. My mom's, she's huge on education. That was her thing. I think she was actually a lot cooler about foregoing college than I thought she would be, but she's all about education. So she's harping on me to go online classes this fall, which I'll probably end up doing from somewhere. But I plan, if I am to get a degree, probably going to be in exercise science or kinesiology. Just kind of like obviously learn more about basically what I'm doing. And then I don't like to call it Plan B because I don't want to have like a backup plan, but athletic training or like strength and conditioning. That's kind of like that was like if baseball wasn't in the picture, that's what I would want to do.
Love that. I love that. In your first season of pro ball, I want to talk about that a little bit because it's obviously a big jump from going to high school ball into pro ball at the St. Louis Cardinals. What was that first year for you like? After you wrapped up your career here at Regis Jesuit.
It's definitely a big jump. I think the biggest thing is just the size of the guys. In high school, you got, I don't even know how to explain this. You got a lot of guys, and a lot of guys you grow up with, and once you get to the pro level, it's like everybody's 6 foot above. It's like there's some real dudes out there.
Yeah.
I'm big on that field. I'm not big. And so that's like the biggest thing is just realizing that you're not that special anymore.
Right. Yeah. Putting your high school accolades to the side.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's what I've heard a lot as far as like D1 college guys talk about is like nobody gives a crap about your high school accolades. Nobody cares about what you did the past 4 years of high school. It matters what you're doing now for this program, for this organization. So I think that's a big thing is, maybe a lot of you seem the complete opposite of this type of guy, but a lot of high school guys seem maybe stuck up and full of themselves because of their accolades, and then they get to the college level and they're still stuck up, and then they get kind of a wake-up call.
Oh yeah, it's a totally different game out there. In high school, you have velo, you can get away with a lot of fastball usage, just like using it 60% of the time, even more. But then once you get out there, it's more like now you're throwing first pitch curveballs. There's a lot of guys like to swing early. They can hit the fastball. 94 out there is down the middle. It's not going to look pretty for the pitcher. So, so you gotta be a lot more smart with your pitches. And I think that's the biggest thing for me is just maturing into that. Now it's not. Let's see how hard I could throw it in high school, and it doesn't matter a whole lot where it goes. Now it's like, let's still throw hard because the name of the game is now velo, but just put it to a spot and honestly try to get a little bit of movement on it too.
Yeah, and you mentioned the money side of things, minor league baseball a little earlier, and just baseball in general, and obviously that's not the most important thing to you, but it's been a talk around baseball as a whole a lot because minor leaguers are not making a lot of money at all whatsoever. And, a lot of people are against that. And the grind that they're going through to make that much money is a bit ridiculous. But I saw that they're providing housing starting in 2022. Were you kind of excited for that? Because that's kind of one less thing you have to worry about throughout the grind. You're taking long bus rides that are hours upon hours, and then playing 3-4 hour baseball game, and then traveling back to your home city. So were you kind of excited to hear that was announced?
Yeah, I think that's huge for a ton of guys. I can't talk a whole lot on it because I really have not spent a whole season there. But the reality was, I think you were making $400 a month. Sorry, $400 a week, and we had 50 taken out for a hotel every night. And so there was guys making $100 to $200 a week or every 2 weeks, which is really tough.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate enough to have some money in the savings just from the draft, but there's a lot of guys out there that free agent signings that really didn't get a whole lot.
You mentioned sleeping on mattress floors, taking long bus rides, like I mentioned, not making much money. How tough is it really to be a minor league baseball player?
I'm the wrong person to ask that question because I was living in a DoubleTree hotel. Complex league, you wake up around 6:30 to 7 every day. You get your bus to the complex. You get your breakfast there. It's usually just like 2 egg omelet, bacon. It's actually pretty good. And then you do all your body performance stuff. That's what they call it. So it's like if you're lifting that day, you lift. You need to get mobility in before you throw. That's what you do. And we all go out to the field, do our dynamic warm up, get our throwing in, and we do our conditioning. And then from there, it's either we are taking a bus ride to Astros, Nationals, or Mets, and we have the ones at our complex. And then go play a game there either at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., or 12 p.m. And then after that, just come home and do the next same thing every day.
That's crazy. And you mentioned how also, a lot of minor league guys go through, a lot of mental health, struggles. Are you big at all into mental health and the importance behind that? Because especially in the game of baseball, really in any sport, but in the game of baseball, your mental toughness and your mental awareness has to be top notch because, the game is full of so many ups and downs. Are you big at all into mental health and the importance behind that?
I think it's an under talked about topic. I'm not going to say I'm big into it. I'm starting fundraisers on that because that's just disrespectful to people that are. But I think there's some really great companies out there. I think one of the better ones is Positive Vibe Movement. I really like that one.
Yeah.
And I just think that there's a lot of stories out there that don't need to happen if especially with men being stereotyped about how they don't talk about it. I think you saw it. What was his name? Was it Ryan Jefferson? Was it RJ3?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that was just a really sad comment because I think you kind of saw it on Instagram, TikTok, the entire baseball platform kind of felt like they kind of had a little bit invested in him. Just watching him play. Youth Prospects did an awesome video on him. It's just really sad because you don't want to see that happen, and I think the biggest thing for it not to happen is just for people to talk about it, not just post it on Instagram. I like to post. I think it's awesome to spread the awareness, but it's one thing to post and not even do anything about it, So I think the biggest thing, I think more guys are talking about it. I think Eric Sim did a video on it, but just don't feel like you're not a man.
Yeah.
You know, reach out. Yeah, just it's not like it's better to get help than just stay quiet about it. Fortunately, I've been lucky enough to just not have bad mental health issues, but I've known people with them. And it's tough to see them go through it. I'm sure it's a lot harder to just go through.
And we're getting deep here on the Catching Up with Alec Willis, Cardinals prospect segment, and I want to transition away from that topic and get a little more positive and get a little more happy in this segment by talking a little bit about your best piece of advice that you received when you were a younger player, and how you think it has benefited you along the run.
I would say do what you think is right for yourself. But I would say do what you think is right, but also don't be stubborn. There's gonna be a lot of coaches in your head, high school, club ball, whatever. They're gonna tell you different things. But at the end of the day, I feel like you gotta take a step back, look in the mirror, and just realize, am I putting myself in the best position possible? And be open-minded as well because of that. I feel like my routine, kind of like my weekly routine, it's changed dramatically over the last 4 years just because I've gone to different lifting places. I found the one that I like, Push Performance, and they've been huge with teaching me honestly just why I'm doing the things I do. That's where I got my mobility from. And then throwing, it's just I did a lot of it on my own last year. I think I learned a lot from that. This year I'm with Triathletics out in North Carolina, and they've taught me more in like 2 weeks than I could honestly teach myself. So it's just a lot of kids are, I would say, hesitant to do something like reach out to someone because of the money thing.
Right.
And I think that is tough because it is expensive to go to these places, but I would say it's definitely a good investment. Because you're investing in your own career.
I like that. And I think that, eventually it'll pay off, and for you it has. Who would you accredit your success to the most? Whether it be your parents, your trainer, who would you accredit that success to?
I would say my mom, my dad, and my brother for different reasons. My mom, just because I like to say she's my unofficial nutritionist because she teaches me what to eat, so she's been great about that. But also, my mom and my dad really, they believed in this since I was a little kid. Surgery's not a cheap thing to go through. And go to all these travel tournaments, pay for all these gym and throwing memberships, and so I'm really grateful for that. And my brother, so he's 2 years older than me.
Okay.
I got to play. We won state actually when I was a sophomore and he was a senior.
Yeah, that was probably special.
That was awesome. Not to go back on the high school accolades thing.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
So him being 2 years older than me, it's not that far apart, and he's just the best role model ever. He's definitely saved my life multiple times when I'm not looking, trying to cross the sidewalk or something like that. But no, he's just a great person. I kind of hopefully get his kindness in life, and he's just fantastic. Bradshaw, shout out to Bradshaw Willis. But yeah, he's incredible. My mom, my dad, they've never given up on me, which has been more than you ask for.
I love that. And I want to wrap it up by talking a little bit about Regis Jesuit, a huge school and a lot of talent on the baseball squad. You look at guys, you got Dallas, you had a ton of more guys that were Power 5 commits and had the ability to compete at the highest level. Like you just mentioned, won state your sophomore year, made it pretty far your senior year. Unfortunately, lost to Legacy. We're playing catch with the legacy catcher right now. But talk a little bit about the talent, as far as Regis Jesuit goes, and how beneficial that experience was for you during those 4 years.
I think one of the biggest reasons why I chose Regis was because obviously academics first, but in terms of athletics, it's not necessarily they're bringing in every great dude. They are bringing in some really good dudes, but it's more everybody wants to get better. Everybody's pushing each other. So the saying you're a product of your environment.
Yeah.
I think that's really true for Regis. It's just everybody wants to get better. whatever sport it is. I think that's why our teams are that good. And then, yeah, you just look at the baseball program. And you got dudes coming in every single year, and then you got the underclassmen seeing that and saying, "Oh, I'd love to do that too." So I think that's where the older generation just keeps filtering in every single year.
You mentioned one thing in the answer that really stuck out to me. It was you're a product of your environment, and I think it's crucial to surround yourselves with the same goals or even bigger goals than you have, because whoever you surround yourself with is the way you're going to be going about things on a day-to-day basis. How beneficial was that for you, and how focused were you during high school to surround yourself with people that had the same or bigger goals?
Yeah, so I mean, all my buddies played baseball. I think basically all of them went off to play college baseball somewhere or college basketball, and so that's just really cool to see, because then you're like, oh, some of the right people. Right. Like last winter when I was doing my rehab throwing, I was like, I don't really want to throw inside to a net. It's just like you can't tell how far it's going. So me and my buddy, we literally just come here, take a shovel and shovel off, however many yards we're going to throw. And so I think that was just huge to have like a person with me that, wanted it as bad as I did, and just, be able to just say, whatever, it's a turf field, let's just, let's make it work. And I think that's just the biggest thing, because it's easy to just be like, oh, it's snowing outside, let's just take the day off or whatever. But when you're on a routine and staying consistent, that's when you get the most gains. And I feel like that's what helped me the most.
I think that's what separates you too, because any guy can go out and say they're going to work out and work out, throw, do all of that for a week straight, and then they take a day off. They're like, oh, this is nice to just stay lazy, relax, sit back, and watch everybody else do the work. But that consistency piece, even for me, not even an athlete, as a content creator, I think that's huge. And what's going to separate me is the consistency piece of content creating. I think that's what's going to make the huge difference and decide who makes it and who doesn't as well.
For sure. I think, just staying consistent is just the biggest thing out there. I mean, everybody loves to post the Snapchat stories of them in the cages. Grinded. Yeah, it's like, is it really when you're doing it once a week?
Yeah,
it's like,
right.
I think the person who says they put in a lot of work, like, you really got to look at the mirror and say, like, they're putting in a lot of work. You have to compare yourself to others, honestly. Just be like, am I doing as much as them? If you're not, then you have your answer right there.
Yeah. With Alec Willis, St. Louis Cardinals prospect, I'm Nathan Lombardo with Lambo Media, and that's a wrap for this Catching Up segment with Alec Willis. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you guys go check out the Instagram at Lambo_media for the giveaway I just posted.
Thanks for tuning in.